Good morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Thursday, August 14th, 2014. You can follow us on Twitter at CATEX TV. Well, for the fourth night in a row, there have been violent racial riots in a suburb of St. Louis, in the small town of Ferguson. The town has about 21,000 residents. About 66% of them are African Americans. On the 53-member police force, only 3 African Americans are present. Last night was the most violent yet. Molotov cocktails were thrown by protesters. The police then fired tear gas and rubber bullets back at them. A lot of this is based upon the fact that the police refused to release the name of the officer who killed an unarmed 18-year-old African American over the weekend. It's a very tense situation. The police during the daytime are training weapons at African American citizens as they move around the area that the violence has been centered in. They're doing this from armored personnel carriers, and of course the national media is present there. Undoubtedly there'll be more activity tonight. Yesterday the governor of Missouri visited the area as well. There have been substantial flooding effects in the city of Detroit and surrounding area out of Wayne County, Michigan. Detroit received record rainfall on Sunday and Monday, and it's begun to affect the auto industry. The torrential rain on Monday slowed production at some Chrysler and Ford plants and forced General Motors to close its Warren Tech Center on Tuesday after flooding knocked out electrical power to the campus. Approximately 2,000 vehicles have been abandoned on the roads by motorists who simply got caught in the high water. A number of interstates remain closed out there. It's slowly coming back to life. The governor of Michigan has declared a disaster area in southeastern Michigan. And of course, the auto production chain is such that if one piece is missing or shuts down, the rest of the chain begins to get disrupted. Output at Chicago Assembly and Kentucky truck plants were interrupted by Monday because those plants could not get suppliers from Michigan that had been experiencing flooding problems. There's an interesting story coming from JLT, the big London broker. They're saying that reinsurance premium pricing for aviation rates could come under sharp pressure in short order if airline insurers push too hard on increasing rates following the recent airplane loss events. JLT said that it was urging insurers to think about losses in the light of 5- and 10-year loss pictures instead of immediately right now. JLT said if we take a longer view, this will be measured increases in rates, modest and probably sustainable to allow the market to restore itself to financial health. They said if increases are too high, the market will collapse and cause new capacity and captive capacity to move into the market as well. JLT noted that we believe if the increases are too harsh, they will not last, and history tells us that rates will likely fall quickly then. Oddly enough, JLT, which receives a remuneration as a percentage of commission on the premium, so the higher the premium, the bigger their commission is urging restraint under these circumstances, saying that if in fact the rates go up too quickly, people are going to walk or the market will collapse and begin to go back down again. The London broker Tysers, which is 200 years old, has been in the news lately as its former chief operating officer, Quentin Heaney, has been involved in an unfair dismissal lawsuit against them. Tysers fired Heaney last year. Yesterday, Heaney won a verdict of unfair dismissal. This had been an acrimonious employment dispute in front of a judge. The employment judge said yesterday that he was successful in his claim of unfair dismissal, but tossed out his whistleblowing claim. The whistleblowing claim, had it been upheld, would have enabled Heaney to claim fairly large damages. As it is now, he'll be able to get some damages. Later this year, the amount will actually be named as to how much he will get. There was a plane crash in Brazil yesterday, and it included on board one of the presidential candidates, Eduardo Campos, who was a scion of a resurging political dynasty. He had been running third in the race to in the re-election race of President Dilma Rousseff. Mr. Campos had in fact been running third in the polls. This is disrupting the race in a very big way. He had been in a Cessna Citation business jet and went down in a residential area in the city of Santos near Sao Paulo. It had been raining at the time. Yesterday in Indianapolis at about 1:30 in the afternoon, the main streets in the downtown area were evacuated along Meridian Street because of a series of underground transformer explosions, sending billowing clouds of smoke out. No damage was done. A number of businesses had to shut down. People were evacuated and fled from the scene. It was not until about 8 p.m. that power was restored to the area and people were allowed to go back in. The utility company says that the reason for all this is because of a blow-up at an underground transformer box. The London clearinghouse Xchanging has put 42 more roles on notice that they could in fact be laid off. The latest roles under threat are in the aviation, professional, and finance teams, as well as the binders and reinsurance teams. Here's an interesting story. Saudi Arabia has handed over a check of $100 million to the United Nations to help finance the UN Center to Combat Global Terrorism. The UN chief, Ban Ki-moon, accepted the gift at a ceremony in his office and said that the recent upsurge in terrorism in a number of countries, most dramatically the Islamic State group's takeover of a large part of Syria and Iraq, underscore the challenges before us. Of course, most terrorists come from Saudi Arabia, extremist Sunni terrorists who are very upset at the fact that the Saudi dynasty has been ruling Saudi Arabia for 80 years and has complete control of the religious organization there as well as the political organization. Pope Francis has arrived in South Korea, the first pope to visit in 25 years. As soon as he arrived, North Korea set off a test firing of missiles. Projectiles flew about 135 miles and landed offshore near South Korea. Pope Francis arrived shaking hands with victims and relatives of the ferry disaster that had killed over 300 people earlier this year. The Pope then climbed into a small Kia to be driven to his next meeting. Meanwhile, when he was overflying China, he sent a telegram to the Chinese president extending cordial relations and his greetings and prayers for a long life and success. The Vatican and Beijing have been feuding for about 40 years because of Beijing's insistence that the government appoint Catholic bishops. You have to like this guy. He still lives in a very modest room at the Vatican Hotel where bishops congregate. He has not moved into the papal apartments, and he drives around as a passenger in a Kia. Talk about humility. It's a good message to be sent to everybody. That's the news for today. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.